This is a story called Little Bitty Raindrop. Once upon a time, Little Bitty Raindrop lived with his father and mother and his 44 brothers and 55 sisters on a big white cloud high up in the blue, blue sky. One day, when the thunder roared, his father and mother and his 44 brothers and 55 sisters jumped off the cloud and parachuted to earth. But Little Bitty Raindrop was sleeping soundly. He did not hear the thunder. When he awoke, he was alone on a big white cloud, but he didn't mind one bit. He lay in the warm sun. He bounced up and down on the soft cloud. He put out his little hand to touch other clouds that sailed past. It was a pleasant life indeed. After a while, Little Bitty Raindrop began to wonder what was down under the cloud. He leaned way over, then a little farther, and a little farther, and whoops, he fell right off the big white cloud. And he didn't have his parachute. He shut his eyes tight and held his tummy with both hands. He fell, and he fell, and he fell. Then finally he landed with a plop. Little Bitty Raindrop slowly opened one eye, then the other. Where was he? He was sitting on a leaf in the very top of a big tree that stood in the meadow. "Oh dear, you almost knocked the breath out of me," groaned the leaf. "I'm sorry," said the raindrop, "but I forgot my parachute." "Oh, that's why you landed so hard. Where are you going now?" the leaf asked. "Why, began the tiny raindrop, but just then the wind gave a big sneeze. The leaf shivered. Little Bitty Raindrop slipped off and landed on the head of a brindled cow that stood under the tree. "Oh, I beg your pardon," said the raindrop. "Not at all," said the cow. "You make my head feel cool. It certainly is hot in the sun. I stepped over here in the shade of the tree to finish my lunch." "What will you do after lunch?" asked Little Bitty Raindrop. "Oh, by the time I finish chewing my lunch, it will be time to start eating dinner," the cow said gently. "Just one meal after another, all day long. All I do is chew and chew." When the brindled cow leaned down to bite off a juicy bit of grass, Little Bitty Raindrop rolled down her nose and off! He would have fallen to the ground, but a butterfly caught him on her back. "Thank you, pretty butterfly," the tiny raindrop cried. "Thank you very much." "That's all right," said the butterfly. "Where can I take you?" "I would like to rest for a few minutes. I've been falling all morning." "I know just the spot for you." They circled over a stream, and the butterfly glided down to a bed of water lilies. Little Bitty Raindrop slid down onto the tip of a beautiful white petal. "You will have a quiet rest on that water lily. Goodbye," the butterfly called as she fluttered away. "Goodbye," Little Bitty Raindrop answered and waved after her. The small raindrop was stretching out on the petal for a nap when the water lily cried, "Look out, Little Bitty Raindrop, look out!" But the water lily cried too late. A big green bullfrog landed kersplash on top of the water lily. Poor Little Bitty Raindrop flew into the air with a whiz. When he came down again, he landed on a small brown branch that was floating down the stream. "Do you mind if I go with you?" the raindrop asked the branch. "Come along," said the small branch. "I'm on my way to the ocean to watch the seagulls play." "Oh, that'll be fun," cried the raindrop. So the Little Bitty Raindrop curled up on the branch and fell sound asleep. On and on he went down the stream toward the ocean. Later he woke with a start to hear the branch shouting, "Wake up! This is the ocean! Wake up!" Little bitty Raindrop opened his eyes. A huge wave, wearing a foamy white cap, was rushing toward him and the little brown branch. Little bitty Raindrop shut his eyes tight and tried to hold on to the branch, but the big wave swept him right off into the water. How frightened he was! Just then he heard a familiar voice say laughingly, "Why, it's little bitty Raindrop! Where have you been? We've looked and looked for you." He felt someone's arms around him. When he opened his eyes, he shouted for joy. His father and mother and his 44 brothers and 55 sisters were swimming around them. His grandfathers, his grandmothers, his uncles, his cousins, and his aunts. All they knew. "Oh, it's wonderful to be back with everyone again. Now if we could only climb back to our cloud home," little bitty Raindrop cried as he hugged his mother and father and every one of his brothers and sisters. The sun in the sky heard his wish and sent 2 sunbeams down to the Raindrop family. Then how they scampered. Little bitty Raindrop and his father and mother and his 44 brothers and his 55 sisters and his grandfathers and grandmothers, with all the aunts and uncles and cousins, climbed up the sunbeam ladder to their cloud home in the sky. "Now we'll all live happily," said little bitty Raindrop, "and I'll remember to take my parachute to Earth again." Bitty Raindrop.